Welcome back. In this very first lesson of this section, we're going to talk about view animations. And these are the most basic types of animations we can use. And even though they're basic, they still get quite a lot done for us. So let's go ahead into Xcode. And I'm going to start a new project. I'm going to call it view animations. And for my view animations, I'm going to have two little blocks in my storyboard, something I can actually see when I'm animating. So I'm going to have a UI view, this one, and another one. So that one, maybe I'll make it a little different color, maybe red, and this one the same, an orange one. Let me add the two outlets for them. Red box, and the other one, let's call it orange box. I'm gonna go back to my storyboard, connect all of them properly. So that's my orange box, and this is my red box. And I also need to have a little action that's gonna do my animation. So action, function, animate. And in my storyboard, I'm going to go ahead and add a button. This button is going to be up here. And I'm not really worried about the graphical, representation of my app, because this app is meant to do something else. And in here, it says animate. And my animate has a white text color. And it also is connected to that action that we just made, animate. Touch up inside. That's about that. Now let's go ahead and worry about this action. Once again, I should mention that I speed through these parts because I know you already know how to do them. It might be a bit of a repetitious task. For some of you might be still useful, but I think for most of us, we don't really need to go through these anymore. So here's the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say UI view dot begin animation. And you can actually have an animation ID or a context if you want to perhaps pause it or do something with an animation, but I don't need to have any of those right now. So I'm going to say both of these are null. And then the only really important animation property that you have to define is the animation duration. So set animation duration to, let's say, 2 seconds. And then you do all of your animations, whatever you want to happen between that. And then I'm going to say UI view dot commit animations. And that's all you have to do in here, as simple as that. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and do some stuff in here. First of all, I'm going to go and say redbox dot center should become a new CG point, which is, and I'm going to not change its X value. So X value is going to be redbox.center.x. But its Y value is going to be redbox.center.y plus 400. So wherever it used to be, push it 400 points down. And I'm going to do a very similar thing with the other one. I'm going to say orange box is going to be wherever it used to be. Maybe this time we go as much as 300, a little bit less. And let's see the animation up until this point. I'm going to run it on iPhone 8. I should get rid of that simulator at some point. I had to do a test for something totally different, and I added a new simulator. So here we should be able to press that button and view an animation for both the red and the orange box. Animate, and yes. So they both end up getting that animation. And of course, every time we press it, they're going to do the same thing because we haven't told it to go to a specific place. We have just told him to go add on top of the existing values. Now, here's a very interesting thing that you have to be mindful of. you can set different animation durations for different pieces of your animation. So I could essentially go ahead and select this one, add in here and say make it 8. So if we run this animation now, as you can imagine, the first piece of animation will happen within 2 seconds. The second one will happen within 8 seconds. And the red one has already landed in 2 seconds. The orange one is taking its sweet time. And that's about that. So we managed to have a very basic animation. There are so many options you can add. For instance, I could add an option for the animation curve. So UI view dot set animation curve, which has UI view dot animation curve dot, and I could go and say, for instance, it's linear. For those of you who might have, this might be the first time you're noticing something like that, animation curves, essentially they refer to the way the animation plays out at the beginning or at the end. So linear means that it goes with the same speed. There is no acceleration or deceleration, essentially. Something like ease in, it means whenever it's about to reach a keyframe or an end of animation, let it ease in into it. Or ease in and out means from both sides they have to do the same thing. I'm actually going to make both of these to be, one of them to be actually ease in. I'm going to make both of them to have the same animation and the same duration, but I'm going to make the UI view animation for the orange box to be linear, hoping that we can actually see the difference between them. So now when I press the animate button, we will notice that the red box will have an ease into animation, while the orange box would do everything in a linear mode. So let's do it. Yes. As you can notice, the orange one immediately starts moving, while the red one takes a little while to get started. Okay then, so with that, this is essentially a beginning and a very basic introduction on how to use UI view animations. In the next lesson, we'll talk about UI view animation blocks. Even though animation blocks are a more advanced way of doing things, there is still a lot you can get done with these animations. So give them a shot and then move on to the next lesson.